guys, it's TJ here from Kayak USA and welcome to my channel. I wanted to jump on here today. I just finished doing some yard work and I figured it's a beautiful day. I could film outside. I decided to go over what to buy whenever you're looking for a kayak. I've got a lot of people that come to me all the time and they ask me, what kind of kayak do I need to buy? What's the best kayak you can get? You know, and you don't always, you're not going to go buy the best kayak you can get. You're going to go buy what you can afford, and you need to look at what you're going to use it for. I've got here my kayak and I've got my brother's kayak, and they're two totally different kayaks. You know, and the pricing is completely different. What you look for when you want to buy a kayak is what you're going to use it for. Your kayak, my kayak, could be completely different than what you're looking for. When I look for a kayak, I look for something that's stable, that I can stand up and fish out of, that mainly that I can fish out of. I like for a lot of deck space and I like for a lot of storage. Now, I like to fish out of my kayaks and I like to go on camping trips in my kayaks, so I like to be able to have a big, wide kayak that I can load a lot of stuff in. A lot of guys that I work with, they don't like doing that. Some people just like doing river floats, you know, or creek floats, and they like to throw a case of or a cooler of beer in the back of the kayak and float for about 6 hours, and that's it. That's great. If that's all you want to do, you really don't need to go out and buy a huge high-dollar kayak. If you're just doing, you know, creek floats with your buddies and you're drinking beer, not really wanting to do a bunch of fishing, the cheaper kayaks can work. My brother's kayak is a Perception Sport. Now that's an old model. It is a sit-on-top kayak, but it's completely different than the elevated seats. The elevated seats are more for your, if you want to fish, if you're going to be going on camping trips, if you're going to, the sit-on-tops with the high-rise seats are so much more comfortable, but they're also more, they cost more, they're pricey. Now this is a sit-on-top kayak, but it's going to have the molded-in seat. The molded-in seat is fine, but the stability is never really great, and you're not going to want to sit in a molded-in seat for a very long time. Now, if you're just doing a day float and you randomly go on a kayak trip, that's fine. I've got a lady that I work with. She's been asking me for a while, TJ, which kayak should I get? I've got a coupon for Dick's. You know, I want to buy this kayak, and she showed me a picture of it, and she was like, do you think it'll be a good one? By the way, I only want to spend $300. Well, if you're only going to want to spend 300 bucks, I would buy a used kayak. But if you're wanting to buy a brand new kayak for 300 bucks, you're not going to get a sit-on-top kayak with a high-rise seat, with a ton of storage, with a wide bow that you can stand up and walk around on. You're just not going to get it for 300 bucks new. If you do find one that cheap, please tag me in it in the comments below, and I'd like to check it out. But that's all she wanted it for, was to occasionally go float this creek everybody likes to float, you know, not far from where we live. And if she's only going to take it out 4 or 5 times a summer, yeah, $300 for a kayak. And she went to Dick's and got her some Pelican kayak, you know, just a cheap 2-piece kayak, molded in seat, nothing special, but she loved it. And that's all she wanted to do, was float with her friends, you know, drink a couple of beers and float the creek for about 4 or 5 hours. That's great if that's all you want to do. If you're looking to fish out of your kayak and spend days on your kayak and be able to bring your tackle and your fishing rods, you're going to have to spend a little bit more money. Now, I'm not saying you have to go buy a Hobie and spend $3,500. You could do like I did and go to Bass Pro, pick up something, and you know, get on YouTube, check them out. That's how I found this kayak. I got on YouTube and I looked around. I didn't want to spend a couple $1,000s for a fishing kayak, you know, that I paddle anyway. Not if it's propel, I prepare to spend a little bit more money. But I went to Bass Pro. I picked up this Ascend FS 128T. I just did a video. I talked about my kayak and my kayak trailer. It does everything I need it to do. Now, that's not saying it's going to be perfect for you. They have several more kayaks out there that are just as good as this, if not better, for around the same price. I spent, I think, $750 bucks on it, and it does everything I need it to do. So if you're looking for a cheap kayak, you need to make a list out. And when you're looking for a kayak, if this is the first time you're going to buy a kayak and you've been on kayaks or whatever, you got friends that have kayaks, but you want to know what kind of kayak you should buy, you need to make a list of everything you think you're going to use it for. Are you going to buy it for a little while and then get rid of it? If you're going to buy it for a little while and get rid of it, get whatever you want to get. If you find a good deal on something, check Craigslist, Facebook, look at all the forums. There's kayaks out there that people like to upgrade from. People are going to buy, and they're going to spend $400 or $500 on their first kayak, and then they're going to upgrade later when they figure out something else they want. If you want to go that route, by all means, get on there, find you a used one. You can get more bang for your buck if you buy a used one. If you already know that you want to spend a certain amount of money on one, that's the best option. Find a used one, keep your eyes open. You can find sales online, at Dick's and Bass Pro and places like that. You can find good deals out there. But a lot of times when people are ready to sell these things, you get on Craigslist. I've seen my kayak on Craigslist, my kayak for $400. That's half price, and if you just be patient. Now, that was after I bought this one, by the way. If I would have seen this one for $400 on Craigslist, I'd have snatched it up anyway. But you just need to make a list. If you're wanting to fish, you need to take in consideration that you're going to want room to walk around your kayak. You're going to want a high-rise seat. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot fish out of this. This kayak came with rod holders. Excuse me. It come with storage. It come with everything that you need, to fish. But it's not going to be comfortable. You're going to be sitting with the water level. That means your butt, when you're in this, it says it's a sit on top kayak, which it is technically a sit on top kayak, but you're sitting right with the water level. And I don't know if you really want to. You can fish out of it, but it's difficult to fish out of it. If you want to step up, make your list out. How many rods are you going to be taking with you? How much tackle do you have? If you only have one fishing rod and one little bitty thing of tackle, then you're not going to need a huge kayak. But if you want something that tracks good, you want something that's stable, you want something with a comfortable seat, you don't have to go out and spend $1,000, or heck, you don't have to spend $700. You can find these brand new at Bass Pro. Now they have different models. This is the FS128T. They have I want to say, I don't know what, I'm not sure what it is. It's like the FS12 or something. It's a smaller kayak. It doesn't have the walk around top. It doesn't have the storage, but it's still a stable kayak with the same seat that mine has, and I think you can pick it up for $400 or $500. So if you're looking for a good kayak, or if you're brand new and you're on the market to buy a kayak, just make yourself a list. Make sure you write down everything that you want in a kayak and everything that you're going to do. After you get your list made out, get on YouTube, get on forums, get on Google, search different kayaks and find out what people say. I will be honest with you, if I'm only 5'9", you don't want a 10-foot kayak. If you plan on keeping this kayak for a long time and you plan on fishing out of it, don't waste your money. Don't get a 10-foot kayak. Start out at 12-foot. People say, man, I found a good deal on a 10-foot kayak. I've got friends that, they tag me in links all the time on Facebook, and they're like, check this out, man, I can get this kayak for $300. This thing sold brand new for $700. It's a 10-foot kayak. You're planning on fishing, you're not gonna like a 10-foot kayak. Now I'm not saying you can't rig up a 10-foot kayak and make it the best boat you've ever fished out of. You can spend more money and you can put a rudder on it and you can do all this stuff so it tracks good. But a 10-foot kayak, you're not gonna have as much stability, one, and it's not gonna track very well. Every time you cast your rod, if you're not anchored out, and say you're floating down a creek bank or a river bank, and you're wanting to fish that riverbank and you want to stay about 10 foot, 12 foot off the riverbank, a 10-foot kayak with no rudder is going to turn on a dime. I don't care what kayak you're in. You can say, oh, I've got the Hobie, it's a 10-footer. I'm sorry, I've been in 10-foot kayaks, I've been in the Hobie 10-foots, I've been in the Walmart, I've been in the Dick's, I've been in all the other 10-foot kayaks, and every time you cast, before you can get your rod reeled all the way in, your kayak has already turned a quarter, if not half the way around, and you're either reeling in behind you, or you're reeling up, looking up, because it's coming up from the other side of you. Get a 12-foot kayak. A 12-foot kayak is the minimum, I think, length that you want to go with when you're shopping for a kayak. Now, it's completely different. Now, that's for fishing kayaks. Now, if you're wanting to just do afternoon floats, or just like I said earlier, if you're going to get with some friends and drink some beer and float a creek 2 or 3 times a summer, it really don't matter what you get. I mean, you're going to have fun. It's all about the experience. If you find a good deal, get it. If you plan on keeping your kayak for a long time, if you're like me and you like to buy something and hang on to it for a while, you need to think about, there's a bunch of things you need to think about. You don't want a 2-piece kayak. Now, when I say a 2-piece kayak, I mean, when you look at the kayak, the top half and the bottom half meet, and there's a lip all the way around the kayak. When it meets, eventually, now I'm not saying it's hard for me to just sit here and say your kayak is going to leak, your kayak is going to leak. Eventually, you're going to have an issue with that 2-piece kayak. You can get them dirt cheap. Walmart sells them now. Heck, I seen 2-piece kayaks at Tractor Supply last week. But they're good kayaks, but they're not roto molded. They're just plastic. It's a different type of plastic. It's a different type of material used to build that kayak, and it's 2 pieces. They put them together and they seal it around. That will eventually leak. So what you need to do is you need to think about, am I going to keep this for a long time? If you're like a buddy, a couple of buddies of mine, they get into something, they get right back out of it, and they're selling their stuff. It's just a fever. If everybody's doing this, they're going to go out and buy one, they're going to use it, and then boom, 2 months later it's going to be gone. Buy whatever you want to buy. Go to Walmart, get you a 2-piece kayak. If you're going to keep it for a long time and you want something that's going to kind of hold its value, make sure it's a 1-piece solid kayak. It is roto molded. You don't want anything that's going to, you're not going to be happy with anything that's not going to be wide and stable. If you see a tiny narrow kayak and you wanting to do some fishing, you're not going to be happy with it. Every time you try to rig up, every time you move, every time you try to set your camera up, you're going to be wobbling, you're going to be all over the place. So what I suggest is you find a good, I'm repeating myself over and over, but you find a good solid 1-piece kayak. Now, for those of you that sit on top kayaks is not the only kayak out there. I mean, I know I started out with sit-in kayaks. Everybody started out with sit-in kayaks. There's so many different kayaks on the market now. We started kayaking, I probably started kayaking 8 years ago. And when we started kayaking, me and my dad, there was really nobody kayaking. There was, I mean, especially fishing out of kayaks. There were whitewater kayaks, that's been around forever. But there was not people out there competitive fishing, bass fishing, lakes, and doing the things they're doing nowadays out of kayaks. It just wasn't happening. So they've changed over the years. Over the past 8 years, it has come up so fast that everybody's trying to get their feet in it. Everybody's making a kayak. I mean, you can get kayaks anywhere now. So there's a lot of junk on the market is what I'm trying to say. And when we started out, like I said, we were in sit-in kayaks. We were in, I think, Perceptions, some sort of Perceptions trophies, I think they were, they were 12-footers out of Dick's Sporting Goods. They were sit-in. They were roto molded. They were 1-piece. We fished out of them. Some of them come with rod holders. They just were not comfortable. If you get a sit-in kayak, you're not going to want to fish out of it. They do make sit-in kayaks, if you want to do long journeys and you want to go camping, yeah, they got good seats in them. You're inside, you're below the water level. If you tip the kayak over and get water in it, you're going to have a bailing pump if you can't get to land, and you're going to have to flip that joker over. You're going to have to hang on to the side of it, and you're going to have to bail all that water out every time. You get to sit on top kayak, you flip out of it. If it's a good stable one like mine, you climb right back on it like it's a bass boat. You can get it in and out of this one, you know, like it's no problem. It's not as stable as this. I've got a video. Check out this video. I put a link to it. My son was standing up fishing out of this one, and you know, that's not a stand-up fishing kayak, and he does pretty good at it. You know, he hadn't failed yet. But if you're looking for a kayak, just make your list. It's a good idea to think about it before you get it. You're gonna go through kayaks if you get into it and you really enjoy the sport like me and my family. We love to be on the water. We love to go camping. We love being in kayaks because they're so versatile. You can go anywhere you want. You can do whatever you want. So we've been through kayaks. We've I guess learned the hard way, and I want to throw this video together to help people not have to learn the hard way. I mean, you're probably not going to keep the first kayak you buy forever, but if you want some advice from me, make a list. Write down the things that you plan on doing out of it, and go from there. Start shopping from there. If you have any more questions from me, let me know. I comment, you know, I get back to you guys like as soon as you comment. I try to, you know, if my phone goes off, I'm going to respond to your comments. Just if I didn't go over something, or if you think I'm wrong about certain things, just let me know. Put it in the comment section down below. I don't mind a little criticism. Just remember, whatever kayak you end up going with, and if you're new to it, that's going to determine how much fun you have. And if you don't have a whole lot of fun, it's going to kill that little idea inside that told you to begin with, hey, I should try kayaking, I should try kayak fishing. It looks fun. I see a lot of people doing it. You buy a sucky kayak, you get home, you know what? I didn't like that. That was horrible. I don't know how these guys do it. And then it ruins you for the rest of you. My wife, she cannot stand being on a kayak. You know, she'll get on one and hang out with me and go fishing and stuff, but she don't like it. And that's because the first kayak she ever went out on was a little 10-foot sit inside. We spent the whole day on this little lake, and it ruined her. She hated it. I mean, it was like so uncomfortable. Her back hurt, her butt hurt. She was unhappy with it. So that stuck in her head. So now, you know, I say, hey, let's go kayak camping. She's not thrilled about it, but you know, she'll go with me. So just don't let a bad kayak ruin your experience of kayak fishing. It's an awesome world out there, you know. Get out there, go see it, hang out. There's another YouTuber, if you're still watching the video, I would love for you to go check out his channel. His name is, I don't know why I'm pointing right there. If I've got his link, I'll definitely put his link up in the corner. So I don't know if it'll be over here or if it'll be over here. But it's Trip Smith. His channel is called Sailing and Such. Awesome guy. He's a good motivator. He does everything on his own. I think I've mentioned him in a couple of my other videos. I went out on him in with him with a bunch of his subscribers. We all met with him in Dothan, Alabama, and did a overnight camping trip. I got a video of that. It's my Sailing and Such video. Just check his channel out. It's Sailing and Such. His name's Trip Smith. He'll let you know, when you watch his channel, you see how much fun you can have, even if you're by yourself. I mean, I like going with friends and hanging out, but he does these adventures by himself, and he has a blast doing it. So before I go, a couple of things, figure out your price range, because that's going to determine your kayak, and that's going to determine if you need to buy a new or if you need to buy a used kayak. But also make your list. Or am I going to fish out of it? Is it going to be used often? Can I load it by myself? All of these things are a factor in what you should buy. Just don't buy the cheapest kayak. Billy Bob post one on Facebook for $100 and you go get it. Don't let that ruin your experience. Find the kayak that you're going to be able to use to do what you want to do. My name's TJ Russell. Thank you for watching Kayak USA. If you like what you've seen, I have other videos. If you don't like this one, check out my other videos. But please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Thanks for tuning in.